good to be here. I'm excited about continuing to be the head coach at my alma mater, the University of Miami. It's been a great trip so far. Get a chance to coach some wonderful players, get a chance to live in paradise, get a chance to recruit in one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in America, and got a great staff. My wife and I are empty nesters, so life is good for me right now, I can promise you. But it's, we're looking forward to this season, put a lot of work into it just like everybody else. And we're just anxious to see what we got. There's a lot of time between now and the game, but it's getting shorter and shorter. We'll be practicing before you know it, and finding out who's going to play where, who's going to earn snaps, who's going to be the quarterback, all those things. We coming down the road, and I'll get a chance to answer those as we go. But I've got the pleasure to bring Shaq Quarterman and Mark Walton, the two players I actually chose to come. I think I invited them because they're a great representation of our program on and off the field. They're special people, they're special players, and I'm honored to be their coach. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Mark, thank you. Shaq, you are first up. And Shaq, we've got microphones rotating throughout the room, so we'll get the mics passed. We'll start our questions. We'll get some really good answers. First question for Shaq Quarterman from the room. We're going to go to the very back, Shaq. Camera positions to the far left.
Shaq, how are you? Back here. The only camera that's actually on the tripod.
Very good.
Mark Larson from Spectrum News in Syracuse. Syracuse and Miami used to have a little bit of a rivalry back in the Big East days. That was renewed this year. I wondered if you could just talk about, as a defensive guy playing a team like Syracuse, I'm sure you've seen some of what they did last year, a lot of tempo, fast-paced offense. What's that game going to be like?
I'm sorry, I can't even hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just, can you talk about Syracuse? They're on the schedule this year for Miami, and not sure how familiar you are with them, but very high-paced offense. What's that game going to be like for a defensive guy like you?
Well, honestly, we haven't really watched Syracuse yet, but I have heard that they're very fast-moving offense. So when that time comes, we're definitely going to prepare for them to put us in the best position to succeed. I'm ready to see how they play.
Other questions for Shaq from out on the floor? Shaq will go back to the same camera position for a follow-up question.
All right, Shaq, another question for you then. Can you talk about, you look back here and there's a lot of tripods, but no cameras. We talked about this with the Syracuse guys yesterday about respect, and not a lot of people coming out to see the U apparently here at Media Day. So you guys take that personally, and maybe as a Division II, a coastal division versus the Atlantic that seems to get a lot of the public.
Well, honestly, I feel as for our team, when it comes to the media, we don't really, I'm not going to say we don't care, but we're not really bothered by how the media feels, or if they respect us enough to come see us. We just here to play ball and compete like we're supposed to do at Miami.
Shaq, I'll ask you a question from right here at the podium. If you'll just look out to the room as you answer. Last year as a true freshman, you seemed to have a pretty good handle for the game of college football. During the offseason, have you seen things in your game, though, that you would still like to improve for 2017?
So the things I'd like to improve on for
Yes.
Of course, I mean, I feel like I can improve in all aspects of my game. I've been working on getting slimmer, more in shape, so that I can, be more efficient, run as fast as I can for as long as I can, so I don't have to come off the field for any reason. I've been, focusing on my football IQ. I've been focusing on my pre-snap analysis to understand what the offense is trying to do to me and my defense. So once you understand things like that, you're one step ahead of the offense, and the offense usually starts out one step ahead of you, but they know what they're doing.
When you talk about football IQ, are there certain areas of the game where you want that IQ to be stronger?
I wouldn't say certain areas, just in general, from reading the stance of the lineman, to looking at how a quarterback IDs the defense, to looking at the splits of receivers. It all plays a part in being successful.
Other questions for Shaq? Probably got 3 or 4 more I can rattle off, but I want to give the room a chance to make sure that they've got their time. Shaq, I'll ask you the last question then. You're fairly new still to the program as a true sophomore. Can you tell us about the kids coming into the program this freshman? Is there any one individual that we need to be looking out for this season?
I would say that you would need to look out for all of them. I mean, I think Coach Rick does a great job recruiting. You know, we got a lot of exciting guys coming in. You know, people that are hungry, ready to put in the work, ready to work hard, that they've been doing in the weight room. And we have those who just arrived, who are just getting accustomed to how we do things. But I feel as though when they come to form, when they come into shape, it's going to be awesome.
Shaq, thank you. Mark, your turn. Mark Walton will be on the stage with us for a few minutes. Questions for Mark from the floor? Mark will go to the camera stand in the very back, same gentleman that asked Shaq a few questions.
Back here, Mark. Hey, Mark Larson, a Spectrum News in Syracuse. Similar line of questioning that I gave your teammate. Atlantic Division might have Clemson and Florida State, but Coastal Division seems to have a little style. We had the velvet jacket, got the Virginia Tech player, we got bow ties. Are you guys trying to make a statement in that regard?
Actually, I didn't try to come in and make a statement today on the dress. I just picked out a suit and I just came here. And, I didn't try to come in and try to make no statement or nothing. I just tried to come in and be dressed professional for the event today.
Question for you, Mark, right here to the right.
HollyNRL.com. Talk about Coach Rick's emphasis on running the ball and how that has helped you.
You know, when Coach Rick came, you know, year before, whole coaching staff that we had, you know, we never ran 21. You know, just Coach Rick came over, you know, running 21 with a fullback and bringing the actual blocker for you, you know. And instead of the gun, you know, just bringing different styles of running the ball. You can run it in the gun, you know, variations of 21, 11, 12, you know. And Coach Rick bring different types of styles to the defense to kind of weigh you down and actually slow you down a little bit. So it kind of hurts you on the end part of it because you never know what we can do out of the run game. So that's helped me a lot, you know, trying to weigh down the defense and just hit carries on different sides.
Mark, keep your focus here on the first row.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Mark, just what you can say not only about yourself, but how you would describe the backfield for Miami, the weapons that you have back there, some of the guys that maybe have stuck out to you at this point.
You got myself, you got Travis Homer, you got Treon Gray coming back off his own ACL injury. So besides myself, you know, you got a great youngster, Travis Homer, a true sophomore. He's gonna do a great, I think he's gonna be a great player, he'll do a great job this year. You got Treon, big strong, one power back. I think he's gonna do a great job coming back off his ACL injury. He's looking pretty good, running well, so I think our room is bright.
Mark, your last question will come from the camera stand again in the very back to the left.
Yeah, all the way back. Hey, Mark, me again. Let's talk about replacing quarterbacks. Seems like every team in this division almost is replacing one, and how much you and some of your other offensive teammates want to kind of step up to help the new quarterback, whoever he turns out to be.
You know, as a leader on the offensive side of the ball, you just got to make sure everybody on one accord. You know, just no matter who come out and win the starting job at the quarterback position, you just want to let them know that as me as a running back, you know, I'm gonna make sure I do my job as I'm picking up any blitz and making sure I hold my own blocking protection to give him enough time to make the right throws and fit, so he can be back there comfortable throwing the ball, so he won't have to rush on the decision to make a bad play. You know, just making sure he knows that I'm a trustworthy guy for him.
Mark, thank you. Shaq, thanks. Gentlemen, you guys can go off to your next breakout. We'll bring Coach Rick back up to the podium and we'll get Q&A from the head guy. Questions for Coach? Coach will start right here in the front row to my right. To your right.
Coach, you described the quarterback competition going into the fall as wide open. Just what you can say about the guys that you have back there right now and maybe how they've looked through the spring and what your anticipation is for the fall in that competition.
Right. Well, we got two veteran players, and that's Malik Rozier and Evan Sheriffs. Both those guys have had a ton of reps. They've been getting a lot of reps since I got there on campus. Not this spring, but the spring prior. So they've had about a year and a half of opportunities to show what they can do. And quite frankly, I'm very comfortable with both of them and their knowledge of the game and of our system and being able to get in the right play, the right protection, and change, a play from a run to a pass or vice versa. I mean, they can do that. They've got plenty of arm strength. They've got some athleticism. They've got some toughness about them. We're just going to see who can become the most consistent in the group at large. And then you got two true freshmen, Cade Walden, and then you've got Nkosi Perry. And both of those guys can move well. They can throw well. They're smart. They're tough. At least they were in high school. We'll find out what they can do when we start practicing. And I think it's at the point now where we just got to get them out there and give them reps. We scrimmage. I want to see who can handle the pressure of that job. So I need a guy I can trust. Can you hit your target? Can you make good decisions? Can you handle the pressure of being the starting quarterback at Miami? Those are the things that I got to find out. And the last one I won't know until they actually become the starting quarterback.
Coach, the camera platform to the back to the left.
All right.
Hey, Coach, and for the record, also a huge Nacho Libre fan.
Yes.
Sir, can you talk about Dino Babers in Syracuse? They're on your schedule this year. I know you haven't looked at it carefully, but I'm sure you saw what they did last year.
Well, first thing that I remember about it from a year ago is they beat Virginia Tech, and we didn't play very well against them at all. And but they spread it out. We know that they get the ball out quick for the most part. They've got a quarterback, or they had a quarterback that was, or I guess he's back. Very athletic guy. Guy can throw and run. And, I didn't study much of their defense because as I'm an offensive coach watching Virginia Tech's defense in preparation for that game, I'm watching Syracuse's offense. So I really saw that for the most part. We played a little bit down the road, so we don't go that far into the end of the season during our summer study, so to speak. So, but he's been a proven winner everywhere he's been, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Coach, for the first time in this media session, we're going to take a question from Slim Bollinger of the ACC. Camera straight on.
Straight ahead, Slim.
Coach, just talk about how much easier it's going to be now with your second year. Your players know you know them.
Right. Well, it is different for sure. I mean, last summer was so critical. We are allowed to meet with our players a couple hours a week, and it was just crucial that we spent a lot of time just installing our offense, installing our defense with the entire football team. A year later, we're still going through the installation, but it's just not as crazy as it was a year ago. There wasn't that big of a learning curve across the board. Now we have a few guys that weren't there in the spring, and they're the ones that really are trying to figure out what's going on. But when you got 80–90% of your team already knowing and understanding what you're trying to get accomplished, it's just a different feeling. These kids are allowed to really focus on getting their bodies right and getting their minds right. So I'm enjoying them. I think they understand what's expected of them, and I think our coaches understand how I want things done, and everybody's bought in. We're moving right along, and we've got a very good pace, I think.
Coach, back to your right, second row with Bob Holliday.
Kickoff this morning, Coach talked about the physicality of the Coastal Division. Two-part question. What part do you think your revamped running game plays in the increasing physicality in this division? And secondly, which teams do you feel like are the most physical in the division? Who stands out?
Well, first of all, Mark Walton was talking a little bit about, adding the fullback to the offense and all that kind of thing. And we're probably not going to have as much of that this year as we had a year ago. But, you know, if you're gonna run the ball well, you gotta block, obviously. You gotta block well. And, you know, people want to talk about the offensive line who doesn't block and provide space for your backs, which is true. You gotta get movement on the defensive players, but you need tight ends to block. You need receivers to block. You need the quarterback to get us in the right running play. I mean, if the running play's got no chance, we got to check to a pass possibly. There's a lot of things that have to be done to make the running game effective. And the other thing, which is some hidden yardage in the running game, is your quarterback's ability to use his wheels and get some first downs. And sometimes it's by design QB running. Sometimes you drop back and no one's open and you take off running. You find some grass and you get some extra yardage there. But you got to be physical to run the football. Who's the most physical team? I don't know. I mean, if I say one team, the other guys get mad. So I think they're all physical. I mean, it's a physical sport. That's what we put the pads in. That's why guys. That's why there's rules against targeting, because guys are trying to play as physical as they can. It's impressive for sure.
Keep your focus to your right here back to Dan.
Coach, with David Njoku moving forward to the NFL, just what you can say about the personnel at the tight end position and some of those guys that are sticking out at this point.
Well, Chris Herndon, I've got a lot of faith that I think he's one of the better tight ends I've been around. Very physical, one attack, good route runner, good ball skills. Probably runs 4'6" and 255 pounds. He's very smart. And he, of all of our players, has to adjust more than anybody we have. We'll call certain things in formations, and he's got to know, he's the guy that moves the most and has to understand where to be, because if we want to go to the tempo that we want to go at, we don't want to have to tell him exactly where to line up. He's got to understand the play. When he hears the play, he's got to know where to go after he hears the play. And we put a lot of burden on the tight end position to do that. He does it extremely well. Behind him, we're young, we're inexperienced, and I don't know if we're ready to play championship football. There's some time between now and then where Michael Little Jr. can get there, and Lindy's young freshman coming in. But I'd be very concerned if something happened to Chris, I can tell you that.
Let's go back straight away with Slim once again.
Coach, talk about the linebacking core. You got a lot of snaps out of 3 freshmen last year. What we should expect from them having a year under their belt?
Well, I think you heard Shaq talk a little bit about really understanding what it takes to be in condition to play a full season. He knew about halfway through that thing that he was probably a little heavy. He was probably not able to run as hard and as fast as he wanted to at all times. So he's in much better condition. He's lighter, he's leaner, and he's smarter. He didn't get smarter. I mean, his IQ didn't change, but his football IQ changed because he understands the game better. And he's also a tremendous leader for our defense and for our team. That's hard to do as early as it is in his career.
Coach, I'll ask a question here from the podium. There was been some rhetoric over the last day and a half about how for a newer coach, year number 2, game number 4, seems to be a marker in which maybe things start to make sense. They start to click. Do you buy into that? What are your thoughts about your own blueprint, maybe in comparison to that thought?
Talking about year 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I think year 2 is certainly a different type of season. Year 1, it's not just football. You got to look at your strength program. You got to look at your nutrition program. You got to look at your academics. You got to look at your recruiting. You got to look at everything that you do and how you do it. And teach everybody how you want things done. I mean, the very first practice, you practice the practice without the players. You get the managers and trainers and coaches, and you get the clocks running, and you get everybody to understand where they got to be when they got to be there. You're ground zero in so many areas. Year 1, year 2, we understand how to do things right. We understand how we want to go about our business, and the players, like I said, 89% of them know exactly what we want to do and how we want to do it. So now it's a matter of perfecting their trade, and so it's a different feel for sure.
Back to Bob Holliday here in our second row to your right.
5 of the 17 have to replace their quarterback. Obviously, this is not the first time you've been through the process of bringing in a new quarterback. What have you learned over time that's most important about managing the process of getting a new guy in there, especially when replacing a talented guy like right now?
Right. Well, it's inevitable you're going to have change in college football, like you said. So you know you're going to have, we knew Kyle was going to move on. Was it going to be this year or not? We didn't know that. So you're always preparing for the moment. I mean, Brad, God forbid, could have got hurt game 2. Somebody's got to play. You got to be preparing guys to play. Big thing for me is I just need a guy that I know is going to have great respect for football. They all have arm talent. They all can move. They all are going to know what to do, or they want to be in the game. But what are you going to do when the protection breaks down? You're going to throw it up for grabs. You're going to start running wild and get the ball stripped, and they scoop and score. And when the drive is over, I want a punt, I want a field goal, or I want an extra point. And if you end up on a turnover, it's usually the quarterback that made a decision that caused that turnover. Or maybe he didn't handle the snap right. Or maybe he didn't hand the ball over the back. And most turnovers are triggered to the quarterback position, and turnovers are deadly to a championship run. Close games are won and lost so much by who protects the ball the best. So I don't want to be so conservative that we never do anything to take a risk. But on the other hand, every risk is calculated, and you can't just launch that thing up for grabs.
Coach, I'll ask the last question and we'll let you go. You opened up by talking about being part of a program that is also your alma mater. Take us through the emotion of last year.
Right.
What did it all mean to you, and what does it mean moving forward?
Well, I've said this before, but I didn't take the Miami job because it was my alma mater. I took it because I knew we could win in Miami. That's why I took the job. Now, it happens to be my alma mater, and the fact that it is my school has grown exponentially as I've been going through the process of being the head coach here in Miami. And I truly love the place, and I love it probably a little bit more because it is my school. I'm taking pride in that, and I'm taking pride in my fellow football alumnus to help them see this program become what they want it to be, and to help our fan base help this place become what they want it to be, the administration, and the players and coaches themselves. So it's been a wonderful experience. My wife and I have really enjoyed living in Coconut Grove.